What is up, guys? It's me, TheGamingD, and welcome back to another video. Guys, we're here for another review of a WWE pay-per-view, and it is the Clash of Champions Gold Rush pay-per-view of 2020. It happened a few hours ago, and I've kind of had a little bit of time to just think about the pay-per-view, talk or write down a bunch of stuff about it, and yeah, kind of digest what happened because honestly I'd say it wasn't the greatest pay-per-view of all time, but it is what it is, I guess. So we're gonna start off with the Kickoff Show. So Kickoff Show was Shinsuke and Cesaro versus Lucha House Party for the SmackDown tag titles. Cesaro and Shinsuke won. I didn't watch the match, really. I normally don't really watch the Kickoff Show. It's just normally kind of boring, I guess. And it's stuff I already know that they talk about leading up to the pay-per-view, so it's basically just a big recap for free for people to see on like YouTube and stuff. But yeah, I didn't really watch it. It was just one of those matches that you see every week on SmackDown, and I just wasn't into it. So yeah, that was that. Then starting the show was AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the Unified Intercontinental Championship, and Sami Zayn won. And I am glad that he did win, because the way he won, I'll get into it in a second, really fits his character and kind of makes him more of a heel, and I like that a lot. It fits very well. I was really hoping that he was going to win this, and he did. So the beginning of the match, it was kind of boring, really slow. I think there's like a spot within the first couple minutes of Jeff Hardy just like kind of botched a move with AJ, and it was weird. But they had some good ladder spots throughout the match, like slamming people onto ladders, throwing ladders at each other. It's pretty cool. It's a ladder match, it's kind of what you expect. Jeff Hardy did have a bad botch on a ladder. So what they're trying to do is he's supposed to be on one end by the turnbuckle, like turnbuckle's here, the ladder's like right here, and the ladder's supposed to go down like that onto the turnbuckle and kind of be at like an angle, because they were like tilting it, and Hardy was supposed to climb up on that, so when it lands on the turnbuckle it's flat, and they were supposed to do something with that. But what happened is once it hit the turnbuckle, the ladder just like flipped, and with Hardy's weight it just flipped him outside the ring, and he like got caught inside of the ladder, and it just didn't look too good. It could have honestly really hurt the guy. But right after that, they had some fighting back and forth, and there was a swanton through a bridged ladder that he put Sami Zayn through, and he was on like the tallest ladder that they have, and just swantons broke it. It was the loudest I've ever heard like a ladder snap in my life in WWE. It was pretty good. And then this is where it kind of like got really interesting. So Sami Zayn, soon after that happened, he ended up taking out some handcuffs, 2 pairs of them, and he handcuffed Jeff Hardy to a ladder through his earlobe. Now, if you know the infamous Randy Orton grabbing him by his earlobe and kind of like ripping at it, he put the handcuff through that and then attached it to a ladder. So Hardy had a ladder stuck to his head, and then he goes in the ring trying to do the same thing to AJ, but trying to handcuff him to the ropes. But he ends up managing, because they're tussling back and forth, managing to end up handcuffing himself to AJ. So they're stuck. And now this is the way the match ended. So AJ was holding, like carrying Sami up the ladder, and Jeff Hardy was coming in, holding his ladder up to his head, and he was climbing up, and while Hardy was kind of like hitting AJ and distracting him, Sami takes the key out of his mouth, and undoes his handcuff, quickly pulls it down and connects it to the ladder, so now AJ's stuck to the ladder. Hardy can't climb the ladder with a freaking another ladder stuck to his head, and so there goes Sami Zayn, takes both the championships down, and bada boom, bada bing. That was that match. It was a really, really good match. The first beginning part of it wasn't the greatest, but it got way better, and it was definitely a contender for match of the night, in my opinion. Now, moving on from that, we have Drew Gulak ended up pinning R-Truth backstage for the 24/7 championship. Don't know why, but it's just, same people are getting involved with the 24/7 championship. Same with, like, all these other things. Like, COVID just needs to be over so they can bring more people back. Next match after that is Zelina Vega versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. I didn't really care about this match at all. It was really boring. You could tell it was kind of like a filler match. Like, they had to put it on the card because it's a championship, and that's the whole point of the pay-per-view. But yeah, I didn't really like it. It was boring, and I like Zelina Vega's not up to like Asuka's like skill level in the ring, so you could tell she was trying to make everything look good, but it wasn't even that long of a match either. It was just she ended up making her tap out pretty quick, so it is what it is. But after the match, there's what's her name? The freaking one of the backstage women is talking to Asuka. Asuka's talking, and Zelina comes over. And Asuka wants to shake her hand, and Zelina's like, no, and ends up doing a bow, and then Asuka goes to do it back, and then Zelina ends up attacking her, and it's gonna continue from there. And honestly, I'm not interested in it. So, yeah, that was that match. So the next one was Apollo Crews versus Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title, and Lashley wins like always. The Hurt Business, I love them as a group. But I don't like how they're continuously fighting the same three guys over and over again. It's getting kind of boring, in my opinion. Like, the Hurt Business is the best thing on Raw, other than like Randy Orton. But it's do something different with it, I guess. But yeah, it's a rivalry that's been going on for way too long. And yeah, I just not really interested in it at this point. Maybe the first two times, but it's just the same result, same thing every time. I'm not really liking it. The next match was Angel Garza and Andrade versus Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Again, it's another match that we see every single week. I said something about this on Twitter, and I saw that these guys have fought each other, I think, over 10 times just this year on like pay-per-views, between pay-per-views and regular matches on like Raw. And then that's not even counting like them going against each other in like singles matches. So it's too much. They need to just change it. And the ending of the match with the Street Profits winning, it was like a botched pin by the ref. He counted to 3 when Andrade's arm was clearly, he clearly kicked out at 2, and the ref just kept counting, and it is what it is. But yeah, it's another one of those matches where see it all the time, but like a little change with the people involved in these rivalries. Next thing was the WWE announced that the draft will be back in a few weeks. I think it's a week from now. I think it's the 9th of October and then the 12th of October, if I'm not mistaken. So it starts on SmackDown, ends on a Raw. So that's really cool. The last I knew is people were thinking about not even having the brand split anymore. But this gives hope. Again, like I think WWE needs the draft. I think it's nice because back when people were on Raw as they were on SmackDown, it was literally just like the same rivalries, just continuously going, instead of having two shows that are completely different of each other and then having completely different rivalries going on both shows. Like it needs to stay like that. You can still do the invitational where this person can go to Raw for a match, or vice versa. But yeah, I think it's cool. I like the draft. It's not a bad thing. It's really nice. I loved it back in the day, like back when SmackDown versus Raw, the games were coming out and they were doing that. It was amazing, and it also gives hope for the next WWE 2K game for next year, because if they do continue this, they might have GM mode. It would make sense to do that. You'd be able to draft superstars and all of the above. So it's really cool. Really cool. It gives me hope for the future. Right after that, R-Truth ends up winning back the 24/7 championship. So R-Truth is like a 40-time 24/7 champion. Next match was supposed to be the Bayley and Nikki Cross match. Now, they announced before the pay-per-view that that Shayna Baszler, that Nia Jax, and that Nikki Cross all weren't able to compete because of injury of some sort. I know that I saw on Twitter Nia Jax said lies about it. I'm guessing that they just either wanted to cut down time and not have the women's tag team championship match, because I would have loved to see the Riot Squad possibly win that, but that just didn't happen. I think they just were like, I've noticed they've been trying to cut it off at 10 o'clock Eastern time every pay-per-view. So it's going to go from 7 to 10, nice 3 hours, instead of doing 7 to 11 like they used to. So I'm guessing to just cut off time, they did that. And also, the Nikki Cross was supposed to face Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. She was unable to compete, so Bayley comes out talking crap like normal. She's like, hey, raise my hand because of forfeit, and before she did that, she's like, anyone in the back, anyone can come out and, I'll fight you for my championship. No one came out, so she wanted her hand raised, and Asuka ended up coming out of all people. The Raw Women's Champion ended up coming out. I think they shouldn't have had Asuka do it. There's probably plenty of women back there that could have came out. It was just really pointless, and it was just a waste of time, hyping up this whole Nikki Cross and Bayley match, and nothing comes of it. Don't know why, but it is what it is. But during that match, Sasha Banks ended up hitting Bayley with a chair out of nowhere. It just comes out of nowhere. Boom. Hits her with a chair. They tussled a bit, and now you know who's going to be going against Bayley soon. So, yeah, Sasha's going to be back maybe in the next week or two, I guess. But, yeah, again, another match where it just wasn't needed. You could have literally had the women's tag championship match instead of this. Like, I don't know. Next match was Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in an ambulance match for the WWE title, and Drew McIntyre won. Now, I was very disappointed in that he won, but the way he did win was, I guess, executed good. Because I personally think Randy Orton should have won. Because they've been hyping him up for so long now that it just should be him being champion already. Like, he was the legend killer again. He was punting people, being unstoppable, and then loses to Keith Lee, I think, once on, like, his debut match. He lost to Drew a couple times. Like, what's the point of hyping Randy up to be this unstoppable guy if he's just gonna not become champion? But yeah, I think they're just trying to keep it going and then maybe give him the title, but I don't know. Anyways, at the beginning of the match, it was very even, back and forth. Then out of nowhere, Randy Orton was about to try to punt Drew, and the Big Show ends up grabbing Orton's leg and pulling him out of the ring and choke slamming him through the announcer's table. That was a surprise. I was like, all right, Big Show, he's back, I guess. It's freaking fruit fly or something. But yeah, that was a big surprise. Big Show came back, choke slammed him, yada yada, left. Once they got over to the ambulance, they started fighting back and forth with weapons like crutches, steel chairs, slamming each other up against the ambulance, all that good stuff. Orton tried to crush Drew with the driver's side door, but Drew ended up almost doing a claymore to him through the door, but he ends up kicking the door off instead. So that was a pretty cool spot. They eventually ended up going backstage for like a couple minutes, and when they were back there, out of nowhere, Christian ends up attacking Orton, throwing him across, like catering the tables and all that, which was cool. It was good to see that they actually had Christian do something. I think that means he might be able to compete, because they wouldn't have him do anything like that unless he was, not able to compete, So, I don't know. It's kind of like the Edge situation. They, all these times he could have, fought and done specific spots, spear someone, but when he was hurt, they would not allow anyone to touch him, and the second he was cleared, he's able to actually fight back. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was good seeing him do that. But then they ended up crawling out, going on to the ambulance. He ended up throwing him through like the windshield of the ambulance. Then they both crawled up to the top, and Drew was kind of like hanging off the back of it, and Orton like crushed his hands and he fell off, hit the floor. And when Orton turned around to leave and get off of the ambulance, Shawn Michaels was there and ended up super kicking Orton off the ambulance, which was cool. It's pretty cool. So at that point, you could kind of tell that the people that he hurt were getting revenge. Now, if you think, the last two people are now Ric Flair and Edge, so it was cool to see all those guys in there. Drew ended up claymoring Orton, and then right before he closes the door to Orton, he ended up punting him right in the head, and that's how he won the match. Closed the doors on him. He's gone. Then they went to the front door of the ambulance where the driver should be sitting, and it was Ric Flair. He's just sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, I'll try not to speed out of here," or whatever, something like that. Some dumb thing Ric Flair would say. But yeah, that. It was pretty cool. I wish they would have tried to get Edge in there somehow, because he would have been the last person that he's messed with, but it wasn't too bad the way they did it. But final match here. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso for the Universal Championship. Now, I kind of had hopes for this because they're family for one, and I know Jey Uso can wrestle, and Roman can't. People say he can't wrestle. It's kind of like the John Cena thing, like, oh, he can't wrestle. They can wrestle. Like, they can perform, they can give you entertainment all day. Like, there's no problem there. So coming out, Roman ends up having kind of like new attire, just not wearing a shirt. He's just got the same pants on, boots, just doesn't have a shirt on. Man is jacked. He didn't have the new entrance music that was rumored, but it is what it is. So literally all through this match was Roman Reigns was just beating the hell out of Jey. Like, that's, for the most part, that's what it was. Jey did have his, put some fight into it here and there where you're like, well, he could win this. But you could tell also that they were family because they had a lot of chemistry. Like, really good. Like, you can tell that they know what they're doing when they go against each other. So I liked that part of it. Now with Jey putting up a fight, really showed him to have promise to be a singles competitor. I could see him being like a IC champion or even a US champ. Like, he's not bad. He definitely needs to work on like his stuff he talks about on the mic and not sound so like hood-ish. I don't know how you'd say it. Like, he talks weird. Just talk normal, dude. But yeah, he's got a lot of promise when it comes to being a singles competitor. Jey did come close a couple times to winning the championship. There was a spot where he ended up super kicking Roman. Roman fell. He quickly got up on the ropes. Frog splash. Came so close. Roman is like one of the best people of like kicking out right before the three. He's kind of like Brock Lesnar. They just have those those good instincts on just being quick with that. So I really like that. Now Roman towards the end of the match got Jey on the ground. It was kind of trying to force him to call him the tribal chief, and basically that he's like the man of the family, and he was just trying to get him to say it, and Jey just refused. So he's just getting slammed. The ref is trying to pull Roman off of him. Roman's like, hey, I'll get you fired. Let me do my job. Stay out of my way, or you're gonna get what he's getting. So he just kept going at him, and the ref was like, if this was like Earl Hebner would have just, ring that bell, disqualification. But him, he's just, I think his name is Charles. I can't think of his last name. But yeah, blonde hair dude, kind of soccer mom haircut. But yeah, he he's just like in the back watching the hits, and he's kind of like flinching, like it's happening to him, but like he wants to stop it, but he's just too afraid to. So Jimmy Uso ended up coming out with a white towel, running out, and he's like, grabs Jay's hand, and he's like, oh, you don't need to do this, but yada yada. And he's like, yo, don't throw the towel in, like, you can't do that. Just don't throw it in. I'll take the beating, and they're going back and forth, and Roman's talking his crap too, like, oh, you guys need to call me your tribal chief, yeah, yada yada. And he ends up getting on top of Jey again, just pounding him, and he ends up throwing the towel in, and the ref rings the bell. and he just keeps pounding on him while the bell's ringing, and Jimmy comes in, slides in, kind of like pushes Roman out of the way and gets on top of his brother, and it's like, enough, we're family, he's like, you're the tribal chief, yada yada, he's like, there, you heard it, I said it, and that's how it ended. That's how it ended right there, just Roman just destroying his family. So if he's willing to do that with family, just imagine what he's willing to do without family, So it wasn't a terrible pay-per-view. So the WWE title match, Universal title match, and the IC title match. Three out of the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 out of the 7 matches. I'm not counting like the 24/7 or the SmackDown tag titles because that was pre-show. But 3 out of the 7 were pretty good matches. So yeah, the whole middle half of the pay-per-view, so first match and then last 2 were just killer. The whole like hour and a half period, boring. I didn't like it at all. Some people did. I just wasn't interested, but that was that pay-per-view. It was Clash of Champions Gold Rush. It was different. I was really hoping that we would have had The Fiend maybe do something, but I think they hinted something towards the next pay-per-view, which is Hell in a Cell, I believe. They're showing all the clips during the preview of it. It's going to happen in like 4 weeks, and while they're doing the preview, the last thing that happens is you can hear The Fiend's laugh. So I'm thinking it's going to be The Fiend versus Roman. So oh, come on, I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping. That'd be amazing. But yeah, again, hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you guys got any thoughts about it, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.